quick shout out to our current Patreons, Frederick, Dustin, Chris, and Tyler. Thanks for the quick support that you guys give us. Lets us buy a coffee, maybe a beer on game days, and just little extra things too, like paints. It really helps. Also, check out our affiliates, Pro Acryl Paints, Baron of Dice, and our sponsors, Pro Acryl, and also Battle Bling at their Battle Bling store. Check them out. Pretty cool. We'll have all the little tidbits in our description. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Trident Wargaming podcast. I'm your host, Andy. Today with me, joining me again, is the old battle buddy, Jason. How's it going, Jason?
Woo-hoo.
Bringing that energy in. Right on. That's what I like to hear.
Oh, yeah.
So, today we're going to be talking about, of course, the Bolt Action 3rd edition announcement that came out. I know there's been a lot of different podcasts kind of going over things and stuff too, so this is kind of our take on it. So we'll go through a few things and whatnot and get our kind of, ideas out there and hot topics and whatnot. So I'm super excited. I've been kind of, mentioning this for a while, spreading the word. There's something coming for sure. Just had that feeling, right? So I know I've probably pestered Jason, like, I don't know, every month. It's coming. So, so yeah, we'll go through a whole bunch of that kind of stuff. But first, and as always, we'll be going to the hobby zone. There you go. So it's been a while since Jason's a little rusty. Don't worry. But
Yeah. Everybody keeps telling me that.
yeah. So yeah, we'll be talking about just kind of some of the stuff we're working on. I'll let Jason start on exactly what he's been doing on his hobby time. In his hobby zone.
My hobby zone has been filled with Warhammer: The Old World, the cursed return to the Games Workshop.
That's funny. Yeah, because you used to play all that stuff.
Oh
I
yeah,
remember you mentioned that.
I was big in it back in the day, and it fell by the wayside. And now that it's back, so am I, baby.
Yeah, back in the saddle. Yeah,
Back in the saddle.
I'm sure I had some help in doing that, but we won't take all the credit.
Yeah.
So I've also been kind of in that same boat, just trying to get together the Dwarven army. But I've also been looking at the Achtung Panzer release, building some tanks, getting some stuff prepped, deciding essentially kind of what I'm going to be doing, working on, building, plus running, trying to do a little event for the Achtung Panzer as well. So lots of goodies to come, lots of pictures to come in the near future with just really a whole bunch of different games that I've kind of been into. So we'll be doing that kind of stuff. I really do want to do the British Army though. The last bit I've been playing Germans, so I want to get an ally force done up. So
Nice.
Yeah, just get it kind of prepped for the new edition, and then once it drops, I'll have all the toys and goodies to play around with. So
Yeah, I've been batting around the idea of doing another army for the new edition too. I'm not sure what though. I'm not entirely sure, but I've been batting that idea around in my head with the launch to
nice,
team it up with the new army.
nice. Yeah, we'll be getting stuff going once the launch happens. Give it a few weeks for guys to, chomp down on the bit and learn the rules, revise stuff, and then start her up again, get the hype rolling again, right? So, but yeah, new edition, 3rd edition. Apparently release is around late September 2024, which will come up really quick,
Yeah.
as it happens. I've also heard that they are looking at pre-orders July. So it's kind of right around the corner, which makes sense. So with that pre-order, I have a feeling, and I know there's been a couple of the guys out there on the other podcasts. I have a feeling there's going to be a new starter set. So should be interesting to see.
Makes sense. Starter sets are the best way to get people into the game. So if you're trying to, expand your reach, for new customers,
Yeah.
or to bring old customers back in,
Yeah.
it's just easier to do that.
Yeah. And it's interesting with, so, as we're talking about starter sets and the pre-order kind of thing, there was one topic that came up that was really, really interesting, and you haven't really seen too many gaming companies do this. And it's they put a post out, Warlord Games put a post, and I got to give them props for this for sure. They put a post out there and an advertisement out there about the current starter sets having the sticker on it. And if you're getting into the game and you're buying that starter set with the sticker, that come release, that you're going to be able to like do the pre-order and show Warlord, hey, I bought this set and it has the sticker. They're going to give us a rule book for the new edition, right? Which I think is a really, really awesome thing to do. Most of those starter sets have the old version 2 in it, so it only makes sense that they get something. Even though you always see it out there that not every company does that, or has updates online that's a PDF kind of thing, right? So props to that, for them for doing that. I do know they're also saying something about if you've purchased it after like April 12th and it doesn't have a sticker, that you just have to contact them and they'll still provide you with that free rulebook. So like that's above and beyond in my eyes.
Totally.
And I can appreciate that, and that's, I guess, kind of, that's one of the big reasons too that like I really like Warlord Games is they're personable with their community and their gamers, right? So when they look at it, they kind of know what gamers want, right? And they're going to do it with this. So that's one big thing that they're doing, and it's really awesome that they are. So as we're on that topic of like the books and whatnot, unfortunately, but this tends to happen with new editions, is a lot of all the army books are going to be going by the wayside, and they'll be pretty much knocked out, right? It happens.
Yeah. They did say the scenarios are still good.
So the theater selectors, apparently, like the theater campaign books, those are still going to be valid for the missions and whatnot.
Just the units won't be.
So the units that are in there are going to be essentially updated, and we'll talk about that too. But they're going to apparently collaborate all of them into the armies of Germany, armies of books. So they're going to bring them all together in one place.
I kind of like that anyway.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So, that's another thing that we've heard that they're going to be doing. So that's also a bonus. They're essentially, what they're doing and what they've said is it's been so many years. I think it's been 16 years or something since it's launched, and they've learned so much. And they're actually listening to the player base and the communities, to provide them what we want in a game, and they're going to do their best to do that. So So I think that's pretty cool of them to do that. Uh, they are providing the armies, the main factions in the original release here for third edition. So you're going to get your Great Britain, U.S., Germany, Japan, Soviet Union will be. You'll have units and stuff in the main book to use to start playing your games,
Mm.
and then essentially PDFs downloads for a lot of the other nations that they have, like France and Italy and all that stuff. So they'll have that too. So good way to start because everybody pretty much has, one of the main factions from the war, right? So at least they're providing that right away so that you have stuff to play with, and then to learn and play the game, and you're going to see some of the changes, right? So, which I think is another good way of doing it, at least providing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's a little bit about the book, the kind of the bookkeeping, like the changes for that kind of stuff. One big thing too is it sounds like they're trying to clean up, or going to be cleaning up how the book is set up with the rules. And I know that was a bit of an issue with a lot of the books. Trying to find
Yeah.
trying to find one rule, but it's in like three different places.
Some of it's a choose your own adventure
Yeah.
style, which I hate. You go to the rule, you think you found it, and it says turn to page blah blah blah. You go to page blah blah blah, and it tells you to head on over to this other page. Well, geez Louise, can we just fit that two sentences in this one friggin' added onto that paragraph for me, or what?
That's true. It's true. So be interesting to see that. I know when once we get our hands on the book and whatever, I'm gonna probably sit down with Jason and maybe one other person and just kind of go through it and talk about it, and we'll definitely have a podcast on it, and even get a couple games in, and we can talk about that, how it plays and whatnot, right? So
Sweet.
yeah, it'll be good times for sure. It'll be good times.
I know
So
that the upgrade from version 1 to version 2
mm-hmm.
was significant. I think they made the game play better. So I'm hoping for the same. I already think it's a good game. So there's not a whole lot that they need to do,
Yeah,
but it's it sounds good. You know.
yeah, it does, and I agree with you. I mean, like, fell in love with the game myself. It's super fun to play. I didn't find the rules to be, bad. It's very easy to pick up, even as a new player, to jump in like one or two games, and you essentially pretty much have it, except for some of the special stuff that happens, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, ultimately, it's a great game. I like it. I've really enjoyed it. I've deep dived into it a lot, as Jason knows quite well. Hence the back. Um, but doing some new edition, and they're trying to improve. We're going to see changes regardless, right? Even though some people are like, "Oh, it doesn't need to change. You just need to update this or that," right? The thing with changing, the edition, um, upgrading stuff, or just completely redoing a certain rule, it brings a bit of new passion to the game. You know, brings more new excitement to the game. I know with the community, we've slowed down a fair bit playing the game, and just everybody was kind of doing other stuff and trying other games, and like myself as well. Even
Yeah.
just waiting on that moment of hey, new edition's coming out, right? So, and now that we
Well,
have,
for me, it's Bolt Action's new shiny moment.
yeah,
Just like that's part of the problem is that the last 2 years there's been a glut of releases, new games. If you're a nerd into miniature games, if you play Bolt Action, you probably also play other games. And I mean, how much has come out over the last, say, 3 years, 4 years?
yeah, it's true.
So much, so much. So this is Bolt Action's new shiny moment because we're all, you know, squirrel. We're
Squirrel,
all
yeah.
chasing that
Woo, new shiny. Yeah,
newest shiny miniature or newest shiny rule set. So it'll be good just for that. Even I think that'll generate just by itself, like you were saying, just a little bit of new interest. And
100%.
I think they can really uh, some of these changes. I think will really just tweak what's already a good game, and that's
Yeah.
all I need. And for the people that are, because there's going to be people that hate, they're naysayers, and they want to live in. There's people that insist that BattleTech from 1981 or whatever it was is the only way to play. And that's fine. Your rule books don't go moldy as long as you have another pal that wants to play it with you.
Yeah,
Play
100%.
version 2. Play version 1 if you want to. I mean, you might be excluded those rule sets from tournaments or something, but
Yeah,
they don't go bad.
100%. No, that's. Hey, if you're playing with your buddy or your uncle in the garage and it's only you guys playing, you play whatever you want. That's the way it is, man. Whatever makes you happy,
Mm.
which is good. I mean, we can play our third edition of 40K in the garage if we wanted to, but I don't think Jason's getting into 40K. So
No, I think I've successfully sold all of my 40K. I've
so
divested myself.
mm-hmm. Yep. So with the the books changing and what they've been saying with all that kind of stuff, um, from what I've read and heard myself, is they're actually going to be revisiting and changing how army building works, which is really interesting to see what they're going to do. So, is it going to be what's really going to be different? Like, are they changing and shaking up the, reinforced platoon? Are you going to have different options for building different platoons? Will there be maybe special rules that you get for taking a certain type of platoon, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and also, you know, streamlining the theater selectors as well, right? Because right now, it's currently is like if I'm using a theater selector, I usually talk to my opponent, let them know, hey, this is what I'm using, and hopefully they would have something in that kind of same era, and you guys would duke it out and see how it goes. But usually those theater selectors had some special rules to them, which you know definitely changed the way that army would play. So I'm curious to see if anything like that is going to happen with just your generic army building, right? Um,
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if there'll be a bit of a special rule by, for a certain amount of points,
mm-hmm.
build those theater selectors without necessarily needing a theater selector. Because one of the things I love about the theater selectors is that if you're playing the opponent that it's designed to fight, it's perfectly balanced.
Yeah,
But outside of that, you could either be very disadvantaged or very advantaged playing in a regular pickup game with that list. So that's why they generally, if you're playing a theater selector, it says straight up, tell your opponent because he might tell you to, hit the bricks, pal. Because some of them are designed. For example, there's a couple that are really tank heavy
yeah,
to a point where against a bog basic platoon is quite disadvantageous, but against the opposite list, where probably it's also either tank heavy or anti-tank centric, or designed to be played in a scenario where they have to get off there's different objectives or something like that to make that list balanced.
Right. Yep.
Outside of that context, those lists aren't necessarily fair. So I'm hoping maybe they do something that you can create your own,
Kind of like a Build-A-Bear.
just to build a bear,
Yeah.
X amount of points for X kind of
Yep.
rule advantage, or whatever, special rule, kind of like the British do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They already kind of have that anyway with their
So yeah, that's kind of like the nation's special rules, right?
yeah.
So continue like with this topic too. Like it's uh, I have a feeling that maybe some of the nation rules are going to change a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to go the route of making it streamlined for playability for these factions to make them a bit more different, or if they're going to stick to, you know, uh, what they've kind of already got and just tweak it a little bit as they have in the past with like FAQs. Well, sort of. Um, what I don't want to see though, I I do like the theater selectors that they have now. It gives you those options to play those specific battles. Sure, you could go toe to toe with somebody else in another, you know, two armies that are completely in different eras and sectors, but probably doesn't turn out too well. But what I don't want to see are guys that are going to be doing these build a bears or making these platoons, and it's going to be like some kind of stupid min maxing bullshit.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm
Right?
done. If that's the
Like even if that is a possibility in your game, me personally, for bolt action, there are other games out there that I have done that with because it that's the group I play with for that kind of competitive scene or whatever. Um, but for bolt action, it's always going to be about theme and kind of an accuracy to what I think would have been in that army, what works well with each other in that army. But not so much of, well, I'm going to take these 2 5-man squads and that's it for my troops. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, get out of here. So I hope that by them changing stuff like that, that you're not going to really see that, and it's going to be, definitely more of the infantry kind of thing. Because they did say that they are revising the units and a lot of the special rules and also the point costs of
Mm-hmm.
units. So you never know, they could be going cheaper and maybe your armies get bigger. I don't know, right? Um, I have a feeling that the points aren't going to change that much, right? So, but it could. There's a possibility it could, and you'll have different options. The rules will change. Maybe some of those units that were kind of a little bit too good, are their special rules are going to change. Hey, maybe Tiger Fear is going to change. Who knows, right?
I would just like them to button down Tiger Fear and figure out what they're going to do, because they seem to change it every
Yeah.
second FAQ.
So
So,
it's true. Um,
or
so
turf it, because it's a stupid rule. And I don't think it's overpowered. I just think it's dumb. It's a dumb thing to have to remember. And it's silly. They weren't afraid of tigers. They barely ever encountered tigers. It's a silly myth and ridiculous to perpetuate. It should be tank fear. And tank fear
Just in
should apply
general.
to every infantry, should have to take that test when they're talking about any other tank. And it only applies to infantry, not other tanks or other,
Mm,
or anti-tank guns, because it's silly that they're worried about them. That's their whole business. You know?
that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's yeah, it's kind of one of those gimmicky rules too that was just here you go, try it out. Oh no, too far. Let's try it at a different, shorter distance. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, who knows? Who knows what they're going to do with that? But there's going to be a lot of different rules that they're going to shake up. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how they're going to do the changing the buying, because it really was the list building. It really was quite bog basic. The only requirement was that it was uh, 2 troop and 1 HQ,
Yeah, your
right?
minimum that you
And
needed. Yeah.
and then a couple of restrictions throughout the various army books, but they're generally 1 1 1 1 1
Yeah.
of any of the weapons teams, artillery, tank, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
Some armies were allowed more machine guns. Maybe but other than that, so it might be a way to add more flavor, because that's one of it's a bit of a pickle though, because that's one of the game's strengths and weaknesses. The strength is that every list is really quite similar.
It
So
is.
it's the player that wins the games. It's not the list.
Yeah.
It's only bad players that say they're losing because of the list, right?
No,
And this
it's
is
true.
coming from a poor player. So I know I'm not losing because the lists are bad.
No.
So it's really the units are too similar. The rules are too similar across the board that you don't have much variance, and it comes down to the general, which I like, but at the same time, it would be nice to push the difference a little bit. I'd like to see, maybe a representation of the different troop types and vehicle types
Hmm.
play themselves out a little bit differently, but I don't want them to push it that far either. So they can't win, or they will automatically win. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see what they do, I guess.
Yep. Exactly. We'll see how it comes along, and it'd just be nice to see maybe there's a little change that gives that part of the game a little bit more flair than anything else,
Yeah.
right? Options, different platoons, but don't make these platoons, have these ridiculous special rules. Just maybe have these platoons have maybe a different setup of how many more units of this type they can take compared to, you know,
Yeah. And
that
I
kind of thing,
love
right?
I love the British national rules are great. They're able to very simple couple of rules. There's like 8 of them, I think, or something, where
Mm-hmm.
they can kind of represent the various Commonwealth nations
Yeah.
with a very simple rule. It gives you a little bit of flavor, and it's none of them are overpowered, but it gives you a little advantage in this one little way, and it makes you feel like you're representing what you're putting on the tabletop a little better than some of the other armies,
Yeah.
because a Fallschirmjäger army is almost identical to a Panzer Grenadier army, is almost identical to a and I should say platoon, is almost identical to a
Yeah. You
we're infantry.
you still got the same guns. You still got the same amount of them. Maybe one or two less. Maybe this one has an option for bicycles instead. Like, but very much, it's not the thing with Bolt Action. It's not the big sci-fi game that 5 different races have 5 different types of equipment, like that are
Totally.
just
Yeah.
completely different, right? Have different rules, have different. It's still a historical game. It's World War II. There is no plasma cannon wielding infantryman. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, I get it, and I found that a lot too, as I was building my armies. It almost seems like I'm always taking the same units, even though I'm playing Germans over here and I decide to play my French on the other side. I'm
Yeah.
still taking the machine gun. I'm still taking the mortars. I'm still taking snipers. Well, but that's what they had. That's part of that battle, that war, right? So, but
Yeah.
like you said, yeah, definitely the commander, right? Definitely the player. So,
Totally.
but
It all evens out. It's there's nothing on that table or in that list that's winning or losing that game.
yeah. But I like that. I like it where it's on the player. It's on the general. It's not. It's an auto win because I have the most powerful
Yeah.
army that's been made to win all the time. No, it's generalship, and that's how my wargaming started, was generalship, right? Um,
Hmm.
I'm still a 50-50 player, probably less now, but you know, at
That's
least
that's that's where I sit. Yeah.
I beat Jason half of the time, unless
I don't know,
unless
Andy.
it's Blood Red Skies, then I beat him 100% of the time with my French,
Every game,
my
those
French
French.
my French that he painted.
Yeah.
So
And they're terrible play. They're not really good planes. They're but anyway.
thanks, Jason. Um, so yeah, but you are right. It's on the general, right? So, but come point revision, stuff like that. That's cool. I'm glad to see them taking that step and relooking at stuff. And okay, you know what? This is still good the way it is. Let's not change that. But we have to tweak this, right? You know, um, and also the other thing too is, like, I heard, and this is related probably to point wise and army building wise, is I heard that tanks were going to be
Mhm.
revisited and looked at to see how they can change them to be a bit more different from each other,
Yeah, that's one of my
right?
big things is that a Stuart tank is in most ways very similar to a Panzer IV or
Yeah.
like a little bit less arm, but basically a light tank is a light tank no matter what it is. A medium tank is a medium tank and they're almost all the same.
Yeah.
And the heavy tank is a heavy, and there's very little, variation, you know, bet- between those vehicles. A little bit on the guns. Most,
Yeah.
Germany gets access to more of the super heavy guns earlier for sure.
But then
But
it starts going
that's
to,
it. That's the difference. That's it. Otherwise, your Soviet tank is exactly the same as your German tank. It doesn't matter.
yeah, for sure.
And there's lots of opportunities to add personality through little rules, or maybe I don't know. Maybe a light tank should move faster than a super heavy tank, or things like that.
Well, well, that's just it. Is there's you could have sloped armor, right? Like it could have a special rule like that where it does something to incoming shots compared to like a German tank that is pretty much squared. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
just stuff like that. And I know they have some stuff like that currently.
It's
Um,
very limited.
but
I
yeah,
mean,
like slow and riveted and stuff like that.
what is
Sure,
there,
but
like 8 rules, 10 rules, maybe?
yeah,
That's it. And they're not applied to very many tanks, even.
yeah. So
The majority don't have any of those rules.
and that's the thing too, is like, it's, well, I can take this Panzer 3. and all these other variants are, as an example, that is, these variants are essentially just identical to this thing. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, is there going to be a huge difference on some of them? Maybe not,
No.
but at least give the different categories of tanks, like give them a difference, because if they're very similar and whatnot and the same like that, players are just going to take the cheapest ones and, put them in there, right? So, and it might not be, for me, it'd be kind of like, you know what? I kind of want to run these Panzer 4s, but why would I when a Panzer 3 is cheaper and maybe it doesn't actually fit the theme of my army, or maybe they didn't have this type in that, now I'm just doing the rivet counting kind of thing, but you know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
maybe it wasn't in that theater at that time, but either way, that's what I heard. Some changes, trying to make tanks a little bit more different between each other. So be good to see that. Who knows if they've taken anything from Achtung Panzer for it. Maybe not as detailed as some of the stuff in there, but maybe they had some ideas from it and kind of tweaked them to fit, regular bolt action. Don't know.
Nice.
We'll see. See how it comes. Be nice to see, though. Definitely. Especially with all these plastic kits that they've been coming with. What else do we got? We have the missions. So this is another big one, and I'm excited for this too. Is apparently some mission changes.
Excellent.
So they're definitely reworking the mission selections and stuff, and I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, and maybe they're doing it in a different way. Are they doing a whole bunch of new missions? Is there going to be, primary, secondary kind of missions, objectives for capture and control kind of stuff? Is scoring going to be different? I don't know.
Mm.
I'm hoping that there's a bit more to the missions to consider to make the game a little bit more tactical, right?
I would like a free floating build your own mission style, like mission creator. Because what happened is they put 12 missions and you played them 8,000 times.
Yep.
And there were missions that every player you watch on a busy game night, every player that rolls that one of those missions re-rolls it because they hate it.
That's
and
true.
there's 4 of those, in my opinion, in that out of those 12 that were just unfun to play. So I like the idea of just cut out those missions. You save those specific missions for theater books or where you're trying to recreate a specific scenario, and do a very general building a mission. Here's the table. Here's the objectives. Here's the primary or secondary objectives. Here's your deployment zone. Have fun.
So interesting, like revisiting the missions. I've played enough different games that there have been the same kind of setup where you roll for your deployment, then you would roll for your mission, and then you would go through your mission parameters, and you do your setup and all that, and your table and all that stuff. That is kind of the old way, right? Now, what I've been seeing with a lot of these other new games that have come out within the last 5 to 8 years or so is there is a lot more options to generating your battlefield. So for any of those that play 40K, they have templates for essentially setting up your terrain. And then what it is they have a bunch of decks that you would draw what your deployment would be, what your primary mission would be, and then you have like a secondary effect in your game, and they're random draws, so it can change every time, right? And then on top of that, they have a deck, one for the attacker, one for the defender, where each turn you draw 2 cards, or up to 2 cards, and these are like secondary objectives that you have to try to score, right? So they have a different scoring system, of course. It's like 100 points, a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not going to get into too many dirty details about it, but that's one of the new ways. Now, go over to like Star Wars Legion. They have an interesting way of doing their missions. Is both players have essentially a mission deck, right? Mm-hmm. And whoever built their army, and because their armies don't always equate to equal numbers, whoever had the lowest, like number or whatever, essentially wins something, and they can use their deck, something like that, similar like that. I don't know exactly, I'm a little rusty on it, but their deck, they have their deployment, they have their missions, and then they have objectives, kind of thing. And they lay them all out. I think there's 9 in total. And then what happens is, depending on whose deck it is, the players take turns omitting from on the left side one of the cards. So if I don't want to play capture and control, I'm going to take that one out. Okay, my opponent doesn't want to play this deployment. He takes that one out, right? I'm going to pass. My opponent takes out this objective because he doesn't want to. So then whatever's left on that table of what's on the left side is now your mission, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a different thing too. Yep. So there's a lot of, as just an example, there's a lot of new ways of doing these missions, and I think the game could benefit from that kind of thing, right? Be it a mission deck, be it a deployment deck, be it just rolling on a chart, right, with different stuff. I think could really bring some interesting games to the table, right?
Yeah, because that is my biggest complaint with the scenarios as they are, is you've played them. You've played them so many times. Yeah. You already know kind of what you're going to do. You already know how you have to proceed to the objective. You already know. So yeah, just throwing a little bit more randomness in there, 100%. I think will scratch that itch without having to get stupid football conga lines to get objectives off the
exactly like, and that's the thing too, is like, okay, well, unless I'm doing a demo for somebody, I'll play like the pitched battle, right? The Dawn of War, where we're just out there rolling dice, trying to chew each other up. It's a learning game. We're not putting anything special in it. We're just shooting at each other so you can get the mechanics. You're picking up the objective and long bombing it to down the road, and it's over turn 3. Well, I didn't have a chance with that. That's not really fun, right?
Yeah.
The other one, I think it's starting in the middle of the board with like half of your units, and your HQ has to be on that in the middle. It's not one of the worst ones, but when a lot of your stuff isn't coming up on the board,
hold until relieved. That's the one, right?
Yeah, so I get the idea, right? I get the idea, which is great. But yeah, there's so many different things they can do. I mean, for my events, a lot of my missions, like, I custom made, and it seemed like people had a lot of fun with it. They enjoyed it, and it worked out.
I only like the ones I won, Andy.
So none?
No, I won. Did I win? I can't remember. I won one of the games.
I think you won the beachhead, actually.
Yeah, I won the
Yeah, I
beachhead.
think you played Jordan and you beat him on that one. Yeah, which is not no easy task to do on that those tables and that mission that I've designed, right? So, um, but yeah, overall, a good shakeup for the missions is definitely one of the things they need for sure. Um, it's nice that the theater selectors had all these other missions in there, but unless you heavily modify them or you pretty much are playing straight out of the book for that scenario, which
Yeah.
me and Jason can attest to is really, really fun, right?
I love them.
When you're playing to those scenarios, but outside of that, unless you're really adjusting them, they just don't really work, right?
They don't work for pitch battles or
Yeah.
for pickup games
Yeah.
at all. Like 90% of them need to be heavily modified
Yeah.
to work outside of those theater selectors. With those theater selectors, with both sides using the right armies and those selectors and that scenario, amazing. The
Yep.
best we'll have in bolt action.
Yep.
Like honestly, if I was to, if I knew a group of two buddies that wanted to start playing, I would say pick a theater selector and work your way through that,
Yep.
because you will have the best games of your life playing those.
We've just recently, in the last, I don't know, I think 3 weeks, a couple of people have been playing some bolt action at the shop, and they've been playing the scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it seems like they've been having a good time, which is great. You know, they're getting their dice rolls in before a new edition hits. So it's good to see. It's good to see that new edition's coming. We are getting changes. It will be exciting to see when they drop the army books, the
Yeah.
new army books, to see how and what they've done with them. So it'll be, because it was kind of weird that they made a version 2 of the German book, but they never did a new version of any of the other books,
No.
right? So now they'll start making these books and start releasing them, which I wouldn't be surprised if they already have them, drafted up.
Yeah.
And
Which, to be fair, it's weird that they did that, but I also respect it, because the timeline between version 1 and version 2 wasn't necessarily that long. I think it was 6 years.
right.
And so some of those books weren't that old.
Yeah.
So they just said those old books still work. Some of the rules, some of the units might not be as good as they used to be, but they still work. Which I like that they just carried on. You don't have to like, great, now I have to buy all the books again. No, you're still cool. So, but now some of those books are old.
Yeah.
And I don't mind if once, turning into a new decade, I have to purchase a new army book. That's probably okay.
I've always been the book guy myself. I like to have majority of the books.
I pretty much buy them all, but
Not with every game system that I play, but with bolt action, I definitely did go with all the books and even the campaign books. I think I'm missing a couple still, actually. But yeah, like I have no problem, dishing out some coin for the new books as they come out. It just gives me more stuff to look at, to be entertained with, to build armies with, and to see the changes they did with armies, and it also lets me, as a tournament organizer and semi-sarge kind of thing, learn about the other armies and help new players out with their armies.
Yeah.
and even sometimes the vets haven't, they're rusty too, or I'm rusty, and we help each other out because we know what's in those books. So, um, but yeah, no, it's good. It'll be exciting to see what they come out with. Not to mention whatever artwork and stuff they put on these books as well, which I think will be always lovely to see. I always love the illustrations and stuff they put in, the little battle scenes that they put in these books too.
Totally.
Um,
And I love their tradition of doing a mini for every book too.
yes,
It's fun. I know I use almost none of them. I love them all.
but we collect them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But just
So,
a little guy to add a little flair to your army.
yep, yep,
Or a bear.
or bear. So, so it's the game itself for the version 3 is going to be written by Alessio Calvatore. Essentially, he's been working on it. He's taking a lot of the info and learning from the feedback, as we mentioned earlier, from the community and players and all that. And I'm sure they have all their play testers and other podcast groups that have gotten stuff from them and whatnot. So he's on it. He's working on it. Sounds like he has free reign essentially of what he wants to do. He's done other games before. So I believe he did the Lord of the Rings game for GW, which is still going strong in parts of the world. And I tried it out early last year. It was pretty good rule set. Just not as popular over here in North America. So, especially in the cold part of Canada. But yeah, it seems he has free reign of it. His work is really, really good, and I'm glad that he's on it. And super excited, just kind of hyped and jacked. And this also means getting back on the saddle, um, trying to do more events, getting things rolling, working on more terrain, of course. So you'll probably start to see a bit more of the bolt action side on Trident again as things come up between bolt action. We're going to do some Achtung Panzer, of course, because that came out too. There's always the room for the Blood Red Skies with Jason here, which we still got to get going as well. And it seems to be picking up in our community, so that's awesome. And of course, you have any other game that we essentially want to talk about that's involved.
All of them.
All of them. All of them. All of them. All of them.
I will
So,
have all the games.
so yeah. So that pretty much wraps it up for Bolt Action version 3, 3rd edition from here at Trident. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I know it's been a while since we've really had a Bolt Action episode, but here you go. And there'll be more coming. And the beautiful thing is once the new stuff starts hitting, we will have way more Bolt Action stuff for you guys to listen on. Again, we'll be going through, army book reviews, and I'm going to try to get some more videos of, unboxings of the kits and what's in the kits and that kind of stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun. Me and Jason are going to have to get back onto the bandwagon of actually doing the big missions, duking it out, right?
I have a city, Andy.
Yes, you do.
I need to play in it.
Yes, you do. So we'll do that and try to get some other guys into it as well. Maybe have a couple teams against each other.
Ooh.
Maybe some of us will play Germans. Maybe some of us will play Soviets. Something like that. So a lot of fun. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Check out our socials. Check out our events. And essentially, work on your stuff, paint it, get rolling dice. We always try to. Sometimes we have that little slow period, but still chucking dice. So again, Jason, thanks for being on again.
No worries.
As always, I'll drag you in every time.
I love it.
So again, thanks guys, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.
Did you plug the Patreon? We need to plug the Patreon.